Okay, well, we do have a new week ahead of us, and today is November 12th. November 11th, of course, is Veterans Day, and we, of course, respect and support our veterans in their service to our country. So if you have served in your country, thank you for your service. And I'm sure many of you, if you haven't, have members of your family or those that you know who are serving in our United States military or other organizations similar. And so maybe you'll have a chance to thank them today too. I had my father served during the Vietnam War. He didn't go into battle. He was a support troop, the Seabees in the Navy. And my grandfather was in Germany just right after World War II. He wasn't old enough to be involved in the war itself, but well, actually, I think he was a soldier at the end, right at the end of World War II, the way that it worked out. So I'm proud of those members of my family as well. Another grandpa also served in World War II in the Navy, I believe, on battleships. So anyway, I don't have such an illustrious history in my past as a veteran, but I do respect those who do. All right, so this week, let me move to this week, is your last week basically for learning about learning management systems. And so it's your last week to kind of get into the mode of developing an online course. How do I do this? And then, of course, at the end of this week, you're going to submit that first LMS course learning management system assignment. And don't forget to submit the supporting documentation for that assignment as well. Remember, there's a paper that goes along with it. I introduced this assignment in last week's video, so you can check that out under November 5th week. But yeah, building a course in a learning management system 1. So you're going to build it in that course in D2L, that you should have access to that course. It's a D2L course that should have been added to your list of courses. You should let me know right away if you can't access that course in D2L so that you can build your own items in there, and then you'll use the presentations from the past weeks to help you to know how to develop the activities that you are required to develop in the online course with that. So, but this is the last week that has presentations and information about building courses in learning management systems, and so it's time to get started on that. Remember, for this assignment too, it's assuming that the course is online only. In other words, there is no face-to-face component to the course that you can come back to class and work on. It's online only, and so oftentimes with an online course, as you have an example in this one, the instructor sets things up and makes them very clear what to do in the course and talks about how to get those things done at the beginning of a course. Well, this week that you're developing is assuming that you've done those setup things. You've told the students that you need to go here to access the course, and you need, for each week, you'll be doing the activities listed within that week and so forth. That is set up already, let's say, but for this activity, there really isn't any. It's not a blended class. In other words, there's no face-to-face component to it. It's an all fully online course that you're developing. So you want to make sure you're clear in your assignments and activities. And then, as I mentioned before, for those of you who might be teaching younger groups, you'll want to include some clear, or you'll want to assume, I should say, obviously include clear directions, but you'll want to assume that there's a parent or somebody to help the student to make it through the activities and so forth. So that's something to think about too. All right, so the activities for this week, you're going to have some readings here. And wait for those to come up here slowly. All right, so the future of learning management systems. And there's kind of this interesting idea that LMSs will be more, at least this idea is still emerging, I think, but the LMSs will be more open. They won't be closed so much. And then for those who are in the graduate class, you'll read about gamification of learning management systems. And then digital badges is another interesting trend in the learning management system, I guess I'll say, area, or at least in the online learning area, where you have a badge is kind of like, I think the idea comes from like merit badges from scouting or badges of honor, as it is Veterans Day, from the military, where you complete a very specific set of tasks, and they're usually a lot smaller than like a single course, like a long time course. It might even be shorter than a week's worth of material or information or activity. And you get a badge for it. And once you have that badge, it's like in the military, you put that on your shirt, or you have that saying that I have earned this badge. Now, if you've earned that badge, then somebody might be able to view that and say, well, I know that he knows how to, let's say it's use Google Forms, for instance. He has the Google Forms badge, and so he is an employable person to use Google Forms because he knows how to use that. So that's the idea with digital badges. It's a very interesting movement. I think some colleagues of mine are actually working on this quite a bit. And this idea of badges, and it can be kind of motivating too. It provides a motivating framework for learning. So read about that. Let's see, there's presentations on developing an online course. So this is the final group of presentations teaching you how to develop an online course. So you have an assignment for submit, meaning, how do I create something that students submit to me? And we've got instructions for D2L, Google Classroom, and Moodle for all of these. Moodle is just for your information. As you know, we probably are not going to be using Moodle. We're using Google Classroom. Developing a quiz and additional tutorials for the different items if needed. So there's some good tutorials listed there, and you can take a look at those. Those will help you, and I think it's a good idea to kind of watch those on the job, so to speak, while you're trying to create something. So let's say you're going to create a quiz in D2L as the requirements of the assignment specify. You'll want to go ahead and watch that video right before you're about to create. It makes it a little easier to do it right there. Alright, and then building a course in a learning management system 1. So this is the first part of two-part assignment basically. Well, it's a one-part assignment, I guess. It's in and of itself. You've got to create this week of courses online, or of activities in a course online. And again, I've set up the D2L class, but so take a look at that before you submit it. But once I see that you have added your information here, this is the wait, let me pull that up. There is a supplemental information goes into the Dropbox. Then I will assume once I have that in the Dropbox that I can look at your course in D2L, and I will start to grade that course and kind of go through the activities, see how things work, and give you a grade for that. Alright, so make sure you do this part though. Describe your target audience, provide a written summary of the week activities, and describe what you as a teacher would do during the week in order to support student learning. And remember that this is a fully online course, so assume that there is no face-to-face component. We did flipped classroom earlier, so no need to do a blended course. This is fully online, so kind of assume that. Alright, so that's the assignment to complete this week. Next week, just to give you a little bit of a look ahead for this class, next week is Thanksgiving week, and if you look in that week, there are no assignments provided during that week. So you just get Thanksgiving week off. Hopefully that will be a blessing to you, as it is a blessed week to have Thanksgiving. And then, but the week after, if you look, the second LMS assignment is due in Google Classroom. So if you look here, November 26th through December 1st. On December 1st, the second Building a Course in a Learning Management System assignment is going to be due, and this one you'll build in Google Classroom. So it's going to be very similar to the previous one, but you're going to provide a little bit more of a summary and a little bit more of a written report of it. If you look, you have your target audience, you have your week's activities. This is probably going to be much the same as before. But you're also going to describe the differences in the tools and workflow between the two learning management systems that you encountered. And you're going to indicate which learning management system you would prefer to use to teach and why. So that's something you'll add. But if you look up here, the certain assignments and items that you are supposed to include in Google Classroom are the same. And so it shouldn't require a lot of development of new materials or new things because you already have developed them. You're just going to place the same activities and the same assignments that were in D2L. They're now going to go into Google Classroom instead. And so you'll have them in Google Class. It's hard to say Google a lot. Google Classroom. And basically the same thing in Google Classroom that you're going to create there. So now you should have access to Google Classroom. I got information from you about your Google connected email, but unfortunately it looks like I can only add wolves.northern.edu emails to Google Classroom. So how do you access Google Classroom and the class that I have created so that you can add things into it? Well, you go to classroom.google.com, And once you log in, you'll have to log in with your northern.edu account. In this case, it's this one of mine. I have a couple of them. So you might have to sign out of another Google account that you have and use your wolves.northern.edu credentials. And that includes your first name dot last name at wolves.northern.edu will be your email, and then your password is whatever password you use to access your Northern email as well. And then you should have in your list of classes this LMS Activity 2 as a teacher. So I've added you as a teacher. Now, by the way, this is kind of experimental. I've never done this with Google Classroom, so we'll have to see how it works. Please let me know if you are unable to access any of these items that I'm showing you. And there should be a course, though, in your list called LMS Activity 2. And right here is our class. And if you go to classwork, that's where you're going to create your activities. And I have everybody with their own name here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to hit this Create button to create the assignments, the materials, whatever other items that you want to create. So for instance, if it's a reading assignment, you might want to do assignment. If it's or a reading material, you could choose based on assignment or material. If you want them to hand it in, or if it's just a passive reading assignment, maybe you choose material. You'd create one of these, or a question, or a topic. Now, to create a quiz in Google Classroom, you're going to have to use Google Forms. And Google Forms has a quiz feature, and there's some tutorials on that. So it'll be a little bit different. It's actually not built in as well into Google Classroom to do this. So that's one thing that you'll have to be aware of. But yeah, go ahead and you'll create an assignment or whatever it is you want to create. And then down here under Topic, select your name, because otherwise it's going to go into somebody else's area of the course. So you'll select your name and pick a due date and pick points, and then you can do some instructions, add some attachments or a document or a video or a link or whatever you want to the assignment, and then create it that way. But just make sure that's the key right there. It's, the topic should be your name. That way it will go under your name for whatever activity you create and not under somebody else's name. That might confuse them. So that's one way we have to kind of direct traffic a little bit and be considerate of other people's areas of this course. But I think all will work out. You all tend to be very good about that so far. So I think that's about it. Just take a chance to learn more about Google Classroom and D2L, and then complete your D2L assignment before you do this Google Classroom one. So hand in your D2L assignment first, and then once you have created that in D2L, you'll take and transfer all those activities and materials up into Google Classroom for the second LMS activity. And this should give you some good experience working with two different learning management systems and be able to compare the similarities and differences between the two. So I think that's about it for this week. Have a wonderful week.